Welcome to NewtoMedia, where we connect you to the best service professionals and help you learn about great experiences all over the world.
Hi, Melanie.
Hello, Kris. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Where are you at? Houston?
Yeah, I live in Spring, so right outside of Houston, in a suburb of
How far?
Houston.
How far
Like
is that? Pretty close.
Yeah, it's like 20 minutes from the airport. So it's super
Oh,
close.
really?
Yeah,
Do you love the city? Do you love it over there?
I love it. I actually looked throughout the entire United States on where I wanted to move to, and I chose Houston. So at the time
Oh,
when I was
really?
moving here, I worked remotely, and so I could work anywhere. And I picked Houston because of all of the opportunity even though it's located I love Texas anyway, but where it's located with the ports and with our airports, we have grown into one of the largest international city in the United States. So we just recently overtook Miami, which is huge in
Wow.
our world. Yeah.
Wow. You
And
guys are
so when I was
growing.
looking, we are growing. We are growing. Our
Austin's growing too.
electricity. Well, Austin's really interesting. Austin is all of our real estate market is extremely interesting because of the amount of people that are moving here in general is massive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Austin had a huge uptake from a lot of people moving out of California,
Yep.
and their prices skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So
It's an
right now,
interesting,
actually,
really cool, but it's also got some crazy things about it.
Austin, yes, it
Austin, yeah.
definitely has some interesting points to it. Um, and if you ever go
So,
there, there's like their convention center is on 6th Street, but all around there is very active. And then even more so, the hotels when you're traveling just to the convention center is entertaining. So Austin, what you see
well, I thought it
just
was funny.
there.
There was houses that had like boat ramps out back, and there's boats on the boat ramp, but there's no lake. It was dried up, and I was like, and these boats are like 60 feet in the air. And I'm like, this
Yes.
is a really awkward situation, but beautiful city and tons of cool people are moving there. I mean, the comedy industry is blowing up in Austin, and all these big names are moving out there. And Joe Rogan's out there, and Ron White's out there, and so I mean, it's now Elon's bringing his companies out there. So I mean, it's Texas and Florida. I'm down in Orlando, so I'm in the same type of thing where I mean, we've got 7 of the top 10 fastest growing cities in America right now, and
Yeah.
in the state, and it's just mind boggling, especially with the hurricane that just came through and all that stuff. So, where are you from, and what caused you to end up in Houston? I mean, obviously, you did your due diligence, and did you visit all the cities?
No, I didn't visit all the cities. I was researching online mostly. But I'm in real estate. So at the time I was working in mortgages predominantly. Actually, my role since 2006 was in mortgages. And then I switched over to an agent when I moved to Texas. But my family history is my mom's been a broker and my dad was a builder. He had his real estate license, but that wasn't like his major thing. But my mom got licensed back in the mid 70s. So my whole entire life has been real estate. So when I was looking for where to go, what I was looking for is where is booming in the real estate market. Here, I was closing 40 or 50 loans a month. That was back in 2021. So I was a month in this area, and I thought as long as I got to Houston, I would be fine on figuring out business wise. So
20.
that's it.
Yeah, that's a lot of houses. That's a big workload. I mean, that's like I don't know what 1,000 people involved in your transaction life. Because there's like what 10 people per transaction. I mean,
Yeah.
title agent, and appraiser, inspector, other realtor, seller, buyer. I mean, it's just a crazy number of people. So you must have a team, unless you just like to work 24/7.
Well, at the time, I was working for a large wholesale company, and so they had a really good back end system. So our admin and our support was really strong, and that was the way that was able to be accomplished. So without that, yes. Now in my life, as an individual, if I was doing 40 that many loans, I would be losing my mind. And if I was doing that many, I couldn't handle that many real estate transactions in general as an agent. No, as the agent, you are doing so, you're doing so much more. The loan side. That's why I also think it's really good to keep everyone's hats in their own space on the transaction. So.
I think so too. Yeah, and I did mortgages as well. I was a loan officer for a short time, and it did not work for me. I was not okay with that much paperwork. Paperwork's always been like, so I was like, let me go to the real estate side and try it over here. And so I started out in new home sales, and it was great because there wasn't as much paperwork, and it was very easy. It was very straightforward, very cut and dry, and especially in new home sales. And then once I got my real estate license, I immediately became a marketing manager and sales manager for a real estate company. And I did that for years until I got into luxury homes. And then luxury home sales was totally different than anything else. But it took me like 10 years of being a new home, luxury home, being a sales manager and marketing manager before I ever practiced general real estate. So it was like I was licensed to practice, but I wasn't selling houses. I was running teams, or I was doing a $2 million home sale build over here, or working for this. So it was really crazy. And then once I got into general real estate, I was like, oh, I absolutely love this. This is nice, So, I mean, it was great. I mean, I've never had a complaint with real estate. I think real estate is definitely the way to go. And Houston seems like you said, a very, very hot place to be right now. I mean, I talk to a lot of people that are headed out that way or already out that way, and they love it. So say the same things you said. And so 20 minutes from downtown, do you work downtown Houston, or do you work the suburbs? I mean, what's your farm area look like?
Yeah, actually, I work a lot in the suburbs, but I do have my office in Keller Williams Memorial. So that is downtown. It's in the Memorial area, and that my office is only about 40 minutes from my house. So, and that's with traffic. It's not a terrible commute, and I don't go there very, very frequently. But there's a lot of places to play in Houston. So, I mean, farming area wise, I spend a lot of my time more so in Montgomery, near Conroe, and the Woodlands. Recently, that's really been where I've had a lot of my business, more so than downtown area. But as in real estate, we'll go anywhere, do anything.
Exactly. We'll drive for real estate business.
Yes, I actually was in. Yeah, I was actually in San Leon, which is near Galveston yesterday. It's about an hour-ish drive, but I had a nice couple that I'm working with that are moving here from Austin for business. So that was fun. They're looking for more space than what you normally get. Our lot sizes can be smaller. They're smaller. I'm from Illinois, and the lot sizes there are much larger. Yeah.
60 feet wide, 80 feet wide. What do they start at?
I would say, well, I really don't know it that way. But I would say like a 7,000 square foot lot is probably pretty standard, 5 to 7.
Oh, yeah, you guys are on top of each other.
Yeah. And it just depends then, really. I mean, on my house, I live in Spring, which is still a suburb, and I have a half acre, but I have a double lot. So it just depends on what you do.
So that's the only a quarter acre to a half acre. Big difference there.
Yeah.
And that's good. That's busy. If they're smushing them on top of each other, that means they're trying to fit max people in small space, which is a good thing. Certainly good for business. What's the average home price going for right around now?
356.
356.
In our average. Mm-hmm.
Not bad. So it's reasonable still, something that people can afford. It's not like some crazy number. I mean, some places are out of control.
But also think about this, because I reflect on this frequently, is I originally started in mortgages in 2006. And at that time, jumbos were $417,000. And so 356 would be close to a jumbo if you're talking about then. And now we're saying it's average. It's crazy when you think about it.
There's no question that home prices are out of control, and they don't even make sense with the economy. I mean, there's no logic or reasoning to what's going on. It's not like the inflation has matched the home sales price or anything like that. I mean, the cost of living is far beyond. A family of two can't afford a $350,000 home unless they both make $100,000 a year. And that's an if, but it's certainly become like very difficult to own homes these days and buy them, especially considering what 60, 70 years ago you could pick up a house for $4,000. It's like crazy.
Right.
Our
Yeah.
parents bought homes with cash.
No,
Or
and even
grandparents.
yeah, of course, exactly right. I mean, I was at a house yesterday that is it's actually for lease or sale. And they bought it in 20, let's see. They bought it back in 2013 for 131,000. They were selling it now. They're selling it over 400, but they're renting it for 3,000 because their mortgage is reflective of what they purchased on, right?
Right,
But
right,
still,
exactly.
$3,000 is more than what you would be paying for if you were,
Oh yeah.
like,
Well, at that
yeah,
time, they probably locked in at about 3.25 interest rate, so they're probably paying about $600 a month in
huh,
PITI, and they're renting it at $3,000. So I mean, that's just they're printing cash. If you already own the properties, you're in good shape. It's just if you don't own them yet, buying them is a little tough these days. But they're coming out with a lot of other options, tiny homes and prefab homes and pod homes, and Amazon sells a house now that you can set up. I mean, there's some crazy stuff out there. So it's going to be interesting to see which way the market goes and how things happen over the next, I'd say 6 months are going to be very detrimental.
yeah. I mean, especially with the NAR, that's been something that I don't know how it's impacted in your world, but I know that in mine, I think that the biggest thing that I've noticed is the conversation I mostly list houses, and the conversation with buyer's agents is different, and it can be
Awkward.
challenging. Well, a little bit. I don't necessarily know that it's a lot awkward, but the problem comes into is that the sellers now, when you're talking about offering a reduced price on a house compared to what it's listed at, well, they're planning on that number making sense for if they're telling you X, Y, and Z for commission. But then if you offer low, where's the first thing that you're going to come to? Well, pay for your own buyer's agent then, and that'll help everybody out. But it doesn't seem to be translating that way. So,
No,
um,
I don't think it's going to stick. I don't think this is going to be the way it's going to be. I think it's going to end up having a backlash because there's really no way they can control this and keep it the way it is without
mm-mm.
people just absolutely. The amount of confusion and the amount of paperwork changes and all that was enough for me to go, all right, I've done 20 years in real estate. I can retire now. I'm good. I'm ready to go. And had I not gotten and set up this podcast job to be able to talk to realtors and be able to help spread what messages we can to the people, I probably would have let my license go ahead and expire or just, hung it somewhere and referred people. But I went ahead and renewed it now because after 20 years, it was like, I'm not chasing open doors. I'm not doing that anymore. But I definitely can have conversations about the market and help people understand more about it, introduce agents, introduce new areas, give them the opportunity to learn more about it. Because let's be honest, how helpful would this podcast have been when you were looking for where you wanted to live? You could have popped on, checked out all the cities in the nation, figured out which ones you liked, which agents made the most sense, which ones seemed authentic, and then kind of used it as a tool to decide on where you live.
Yeah.
So
No,
I think
and
it's
I think
great.
that, yeah, that's a great choice. I think in general, people are seeking knowledge, especially if they're wanting to go have a more independent experience. And also for sellers to hear from multitude of people that there is a lot of disruption to the industry and the way that people understand how they're doing business. I do have sellers that have already had that impact from the change. I had a listing. I do have a listing that's actively on, and the agent withdrew her offer after my sellers came back. They offered low on the house. And my sellers came back and said, okay, we agree on the sales price, but if that's the sales price, then we're only going to offer XY compensation instead of XYZ or XYZ blah. And so anyway, the agent ended up withdrawing her offer, which was
Yeah.
stunning to me. I was stunned.
Well,
I couldn't believe she did.
there's like a chance that you could make no money off of a huge deal. I mean, there's
Mhm.
just too much secrecy. There's too much, we're not disclosing enough to be able to really decide on what it's like. All right, we're going to give you some of the information and let you guys try to work out a deal. And it's like, wait. We kind of need all the information to be able to handle this transaction. You know what I mean? 3%, 1%, big difference, you know? It's like, you know, you need to know where you stand prior to negotiating any deal. And it's like, you can't negotiate if you don't know the terms. So it's like, I don't know how that's going to work, but I know that I'm not going to get involved. I'm going to refer all my business out, and I'm just going to be happy to take a percentage of that, because I'll let everybody else figure out the rest of it. Because I've heard all the rumors of, you know, cutting the grass with the 3% in the back, and like setting the clock with the 3 o'clock, and, you know, trying to find ways to like skirt the system. But, you know, I mean, it's certainly going to be a different real estate market. So we'll see how it goes. It's interesting, though, that you've already had a situation that popped up that, you know, where everybody agreed on price, but still wouldn't go through with it. So that's something that, you know, right there is your first little example, I guess.
Well, and get this, what's even crazier is that from what you would expect is that potentially the person, you know, in some home situations, the person that's the buyer, to come up with a down payment is significant enough for them. But in this situation, it wasn't. They were putting a healthy down payment down. The buyers were putting down over $80,000 on the property, and still were not willing to pay for their own real estate agent. And I thought that was interesting too.
That's an interesting. Yeah, that's. I think, you know, you're the first person to run in that I've spoken to that's run into the situation that I think will happen a lot more often than we think. You know, it's going to be one of those situations where it's like, yeah, well, I don't know, man, paying for, you know, signing these whatever buyer's agent, you know, contracts. You know, that's going to be tricky. You know, because people are used to being able to have the freedom to shop around. And if they find a better deal or a better agent or whatever, they used to be able to switch. And I don't know, taking that away from them seems wrong. But I guess, you know, I guess that's for you guys to figure out. And report back to me and tell me how it goes.
I'm going to stick on my listing side, because at least this way, on the listing side, I have a better understanding and a better control of the situation for my clients to know that they have the opportunity to make better, you know, choices that they make. And so I'm just going to stick with the listings.
I don't blame you. You'll be my reference for listing information and finding out where, you know, what's going on. Cause I know more buyers agents than sellers agents, and definitely being a seller's agent would be the way to go. Cause at least you didn't have all the information. So now it's up to you to figure out how to make it work, which that could be a lot of pressure too, you know, cause it's like, hey, we need you to sell our house. And you're like, I know, but I also can't tell anybody about it. And it's like, I don't know how to sell this thing because I really can only give people certain information, and that information has to be certain, you know, and it's like, I want to sell the house, but I got all these things to overcome, you know, and it's not as simple as it used to be. And so I think the game has changed for real. We're going to have to adjust whether we like it or not, and we'll see what happens. But I imagine probably next year, I don't know. I just can't imagine this is going to hold up and be a thing, because there's just too many undisclosed. There's too many open questions, you know. There needs to be some more definition of what's going on, and I think they haven't really defined the situation very well, and we'll see. I mean, that's just my personal opinion, and don't listen to me because I'm a moron, but I like to believe that, you know, 20 years of experience in anything you do gives you a little bit of knowledge, right? So it's, for me, it was a perfect time to transition out. For you, perfect time to stay on the listing side, right?
Definitely. And, you know, what's really funny is last night I had a little bit of an eye-opening for myself. I was thinking about my expenses and like where I spend my marketing, what I'm doing for houses, right? I have 2 listings that are neighbors that I'm really focused on how to market those, because I think that they would be a great, one's a 2-story and one's a single, as a ranch, to be great for a multi-generational situation. And while I was going through my head ways to promote the property, I realized I'm really just a glorified real estate marketer. That's all I really am.
It certainly has changed. It certainly has changed. Yeah.
I was like,
you basically sit online and punch out information like a marketing director or marketing agent, but really not much real estate anymore. I mean, it's certainly changed. So that's an interesting concept too, you know, doing after the listings, you know, how do you present that the most effective way. I mean, it's got to be challenging.
To earn the listing?
Competition's going to be fierce when you don't have to tell when you can offer whatever you want. You know, I mean, it was bad enough with people coming in and trying to list homes at 4%. And, you know, everybody was like, well, this guy said he would list my home for 4%. Why are you charging 6%? And I'd tell them, I'm not in the business of listing homes. I'm in the business of selling homes. If you want to sell your home, I'll sell it for 6%. But if you want it listed, you'll list it for 4%. I only need 90 days. I'm like,
right.
Plus I would never do you the injustice of selling your home for 4% because now I'm only offering the agents 2 on each side. No one's showing a home at 2%. So don't even try. It's just silly. But, you know, those people are cutting the knees out of their own clients. And now we're in a situation where it's even worse, I think, because it's like, I don't know how much I'm going to make. I don't know if I'm going to make anything. I don't know what I can't negotiate. I can't buy into my client's deal because I don't know how much I'm making. So it's like, you know, that's tricky. So like, I'm going to be checking back in with you in a few months to see how it's going.
Right. Because here's the thing is that at the end of the day, you know, the sellers, it's where their equity is, right? But at the end of the day, too, the other agent, if the negotiation goes down to their commission, then part of that is how am I supposed to tell you that you're not that value or that you don't have that? Like that, I don't see that I have the ability to really say that. So that's also kind of why it goes back to your own client, though, because they should. You know, everyone's financial situation is different. I think that's the biggest problem that we have is that the financial situations of everyone actually needs the funds, whether it be the seller or the buyer would like to retain as much of their own liquidity as possible or equity. So.
Yeah, for sure. That would be nice. I mean, I think we may have a new situation coming up too with this, you know, money being given to illegals for immigrants. Oh boy, I don't know how that's going to go over. You know, all of a sudden, if that does go through, we're going to have a whole nother situation on our hands because, you know, there's going to be neighborhoods that aren't going to allow it. There's going to be a lot of that statewide and that kind of stuff. So it could get real confusing there too. Like I said, I'm really glad I finished my 20 years of real estate this year so that I can move to the podcast side. And now I can just talk and enjoy the game and listen to you guys go out there and do the real hard work.
Well, no, I appreciate that. And actually, the way I'm also, besides focusing on listings, is that this year I earned my CIPS. So that's where a lot of my focus has been on the international market. Houston, because we are the growing and we are such a big player. Yeah. And we joined forces, I'll say joined forces, but we joined with Omni. So we're partnered with the South America MLS right now. And I think Miami is as well, but I'm pretty sure Houston and Miami are the only 2 MLSs that have the partnership where we have access to their MLS. And so that's an interesting, yeah. And so so also for our HAR, what we've been implemented, and they started this last May-ish, was a global network. So we have the ability through our global exchange to market properties internationally. And that's where my real focus is. But I've been reaching out to agents on LinkedIn that have the same designation. So that's a certified international property specialist. And my goal is to have listings from around the world on my HAR, since Houston is such an international community, for people to be able to easily access those listings. And then especially I've found out that the people that live in Houston are the ones, everyone's summer is somewhere else. Nobody stays for the hot 120 degrees here. So everyone goes to other locations anyway. And Colorado is one of the big places. So I think that Texas, Colorado, and Florida, they're like their own little 3-pack of states that seem to work well together.
We have our own little rule book.
That's right. Everyone goes up to Colorado. A lot of people do for summers too. That's cooler and it has a similar kind of environment. So that or Florida is what I seem to find, or internationally. So those Houstonians that travel a lot or have other houses is really where my focus has been. I have one of my listings is a gentleman that lives in Ecuador most of the time. So he has an investment property here. And that's been a really interesting way to learn more about the Ecuador market. And then I also have I'm working with Keller Williams Brokerage in Roatan in Honduras for 3 listings from a gentleman that lives in Houston. Yeah. So it's interesting Houstonians own around the world anyway, or people that are relocated here for our oil and gas industry. People come here for a year or two and then they move away and they come back. And during that time, a lot of it is international positions that they receive. So they accumulate properties on those trips, which is nice to come back and have ownership around the world, I guess.
That's right. Property all over the place. Can't be a bad thing, right? Well, I think it's important that I stay in touch with you since you're now my listing expert on what's going on. So I'm going to have you on the show a couple more times so we can get some more feedback. Well, how do people reach you if they're in the Houston area and they want to learn more about your real estate?
Yeah, you can always call my cell phone. I'm very active on it, which is
music.
Yeah, I do. I answer.
Do you have
my
a
cell
website?
phone. I do. Let's see. My website. Probably the easiest would be on my Facebook, which is Move with Melanie, or LinkedIn or Instagram. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Yeah. Send all that information so we can make sure it's all put up. And I will plan on talking to you next month and see how this house sold, because I can't wait to hear about it.
Oh, yeah. Sounds good.
All right, Melanie. Thanks so much for taking the time today. I will talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Kris.
See you. Have a great day.
You too.
Let's go! Let's go!